Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a video on what your company needs to do in New World. I'm going to go over all of the tips and tricks of how to start forming a company if you're new to this sort of thing, or once you've formed your company, what you can actually do with those members in order to maximize your first bit of time in the game and produce a bit of longevity for the company as well, because everyone's focused on the start. So I'm going to go over a few tips for that and a few tips that are going to keep your company alive and kicking throughout your time in Eternum. I'm going to cover things like settlement owning, how to capture it, how to defend it well. I'm going to cover activities that you need to be doing as a group in order to sustain your territory well. And I'm also going to cover some little tips and tricks that can help with the running of a company successfully in New World. Big shout out to Shredrix for the video idea for this one. He sent me a message about this just this morning, and I thought this was a really cool idea. So I'm going to go ahead and make a video on this for you guys today, because it's not something I've seen a lot of information on. I think it is really important, whether you are a member in a company, an officer, a consul, or indeed the governor. There's tips and tricks for everybody in here that will help you to really run smoothly as a team and be effective in New World. So the first thing here that I wanted to talk about is actually forming your group. And if you are still in the stages of forming your group, you haven't got your solid 100 members yet, then one thing that you really need to do is start to recruit people and recruit them effectively. Now, the way that we've done this is obviously through my YouTube channel here, as a lot of you guys have joined up through that way as well, and through Discord in turn, obviously with the conjunction with the YouTube. So that works really, really well. But I've also seen a lot of people use things like Reddit, the New World forums when they've been up, and Twitter. As well as this, there is also things that you can do, like upload a recruitment video onto YouTube and link it to things like Reddit and stuff, so that you can get people to notice you there. And this can be really, really good. And obviously when the game does launch, you will have access to obviously be able to recruit people in game. There is a literal recruitment channel, so you can go ahead in there and type a message out, something like, this is our guild name, this is what content we cover, this is the type of people we're looking for, and then people can join up if they'd like to as well through the game system. So it does offer you opportunities to expand your numbers there should you need to. Now, the type of people you want to be looking out for here is people to cover different roles. So obviously you're going to need primarily DPS players, because that's the one you need the most of, but you want to have at least, you know, a 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 DPS players, you've got a tank and a healer, or round about that number, so that you've got nice groups of 5. And you are going to need a few tanks and a few healers for the wars particularly, so make sure you've got a nice balance of each of the different roles in there. And also make sure you've got a nice balance of a few dedicated crafters and gatherers, people who want to go out and make things for the company and gather things in return for you passing them gear and things like that, and then they pass you tools. And it's kind of like a whole trading system and ecosystem within your company that will work really, really nicely to give you all a good advantage. Now, the benefit of doing this obviously is that you've then got people to fill every role. You're going to be doing well in wars, you've got PvP people, PvE people, and it means that you're going to be able to run all different types of content, or whichever content that your company wants to focus on, successfully and effectively every time, which is going to make members want to stay around for longer. Now, once you've recruited people, to start off the bat, you're going to need a bit of company funds, some money going in there, so that you can either buy a settlement if you're aiming to get that early doors, or if you're just wanting to save up a little bit, you're planning to war for a settlement, you're going to pick at one later on, maybe try get one for free, obviously, because then you don't have to pay, which is good. Maybe you're trying to do that, but you're still going to need money in that bank for if you ever do eventually take a settlement, or indeed for just for other things like gearing up your members. So there's a few ways that you can do this. You could either set a joining fee for joining the company, so before each member joins, they must pay a certain amount of money, which can work particularly well at the start if you are trying to get money towards that settlement. Or you can do a weekly donation, so you could say everyone must pay 1,000 gold weekly, or whatever the number might be, in order to keep your position in the company open and available for you. Or you could just do a basis where as soon as you get free cash that you don't need, please donate some of that to the company. So there's several different methods you can go about doing here, and it kind of depends on whether you're playing as a group of friends or you're playing as an organized company trying to take over territories. Kind of depends on the, you know, the kind of way you do that, but I think there's going to be a kind of bit of back and forth with your team as well, your members, and deciding what you guys want to be happy with doing, what you guys are going to be reasonably achieving per week or per day, so that you can organize that properly and not expect people to be doing 10k a week if they're not going to be getting that, because it's going to be mad. So yeah, you want to kind of match up with what the members have got going, what you've got going, make sure your aspirations meet, and then kind of work out a middleman where we can go, okay, let's set this target per week, and that should work well. And that way it increases the fun for everybody, because you've got the company funds to actually do different pieces of content, gear up your members, and obviously in return for them paying into that when they do need stuff back, you can then help them out, and that's the way that most successfully will work for companies in New World. But obviously, by all means, if you've got your own strategies, stick to those as well. So to get a settlement fast off the rip in New World, you are going to need 100,000 gold as a company in order to buy it. Now, something which is really, really important, a lot of you might not know, I'm quickly going to go over this. When you claim a settlement, you need to be at the fort, so the actual battle PvP fort which you will use in wars, and not the settlement itself in order to purchase it. You go to the flag in the middle of that fort and then you capture it, or you go up to it and press the interact button and then purchase the land if it is currently unclaimed. You can't do this from the actual settlement, it must be done at the fort, and you have to have 100,000 gold on the player. So if you're racing against other people, make sure you've got it on your player and not in the company bank, because you can't pay that funds directly from the company bank, of course, unless they change this to full release, which is possible. But just to be on the safe side, make sure you've got it on your player so you can get that done ASAP. The fastest way to do this, like I said before, would be either to do a joining fee or to feed into your crafters, get loads of people gathering and loads of people crafting, and just feed that, try to sell a lot of stuff, or power through the main story, as those are going to be your main sources of income early doors, and doing that will then allow you to massively gain an advantage in gold, and hopefully be one of the first to purchase those settlements. Now, the other fastest way, if you're not planning to purchase a settlement, is probably going to be to wait 2 or 3 days, get a few members leveled up, graft some levels through the story, through side quests, get people geared up, and then declare war on one of these factions, particularly if it's a company you know hasn't got as much organisation as potentially yourselves have. Now, this is going to be a really good way to do it, because it's going to mean you don't have to pay the 100,000 gold. Obviously, the initial company that's got that has, and to be fair, they'll have made a decent amount of money off it by this point, but you don't have to pay anything for taking it over. And obviously, if you do win that war, you will be able to claim that territory, use it as your own, upgrade it, set the QoL buffs, the quality of life buffs, and all that kind of thing for the settlement that you then take. Now, this is a really good thing, but obviously it's a lot harder to attack than it is to defend, at least from my experience in several wars. I've done well into double figures in wars now, and it's always been easier on defense. So taking that early settlement by buying with gold can also be an advantage in terms of you have the defense advantage, meaning it's going to be a lot more work for those attackers to take you out, which is probably a good thing, because it means you're not going to waste all that money, right? But as well, it gives you an advantage to keep that maybe for a week or two until people get really geared up, which is nice. And so a lot of people have been worrying about that. Like I say there, get some of your members leveled up as much as possible, and defense is always easier. And not to mention, your whole faction can help you, including the third-party faction. So if you're fighting Covenant versus Syndicate, Marauders can help either side. So there's potential for you to get some good high-level players helping you out for these wars as well. Now, touching again kind of off what I was saying there, going off the protecting the settlement element there, the defense is obviously easier, but you do want to try and coordinate a PvP plan with your group as soon as possible, particularly as a company. Get some shot callers who are in your members or your officers' ranks, who are going to be able to help you. If you want to direct the war as the general type figure, then have some members that are going to be shot callers to help you out, or indeed let somebody else be a general and just help with shot calling. And that's going to be a really good thing to have people who are specialized in PvP, in PvE, and in crafting, so that you've got different people who are kind of shot callers and leaders in those fields that can really help organize your group, and particularly the players that are wanting to get into those certain parts of content have somebody that they can speak to while you're doing overall like the general management stuff. If you are a governor or if you're an officer, you're touching on different bases, but some of these members can then also organize different areas as well. In my group, we've done something where we've got officers and then we've got members who are kind of like organizing groups and things like that, and it's a really cool role because they're not expected to do quite as much moderation type stuff, but they do have the ability and the roles in Discord to be able to organize groups successfully and that sort of thing, which should smoothline our start at least a decent amount. So it's really, really cool. Now, another way to protect the settlement, which is actually nothing to do with wars, is going to be doing the PvP missions in your area to keep the influence bar of your own faction further above than the enemy two factions. Now, this can be difficult, particularly if you get focused by a particular faction, but the best way to do this is get as many of your company members together, all PvP flag, and do these quests at the same time, so you can reel off these quests, you can fight anybody who's flagged in the area, and you can continuously just keep running them back for an hour or so, and you'll fill up the influence bars on your own faction to prevent them from doing a war. And this is going to be a really, really nifty tactic, particularly early on if you're trying to avoid someone taking that settlement. Just get your guys running constant quests, whether you're a member, an officer, the governor, whatever the case may be. All of you need to be running the faction PvP quests in your settlement zone if you've claimed one, so that you can keep that, and so that it doesn't get attacked, or the potential to get attacked, because you can keep that bar down. Now, something which makes a lot of sense events in the company itself is obviously to share out gear, like I touched on earlier. If you've got crafters, they might be making tools for players, whilst you've got the PvE guys and the PvP guys bringing back gear and spoils of war from their battles. And if you share this between the crafters and other members, and the crafters then share the tools out and that sort of thing, it's going to balance out very, very nicely and mean that everybody can get access to all content whenever they want to, but also you're all gearing up and progressing together as a group, even if you're not doing the same content, which is a really nice thing. It'll build team morale, build team building as a whole, so how you work as group cohesion and things, and it will allow you to be much nicer to each other. You'll be more inclined to help each other out in battles. In PvP, you'll be more directly inclined to go and help someone. You'll be like, oh, that person gave me gear, I'm going to jump in and help them. It's weird, but it's a subliminal thing that I've found to work, particularly for myself. If someone's nice to me, I want to help them out in the game more, so that's just how it goes. You know, obviously as a group you'll all be helping each other anyway, but just kind of like as a side thing, you should always try and build up your teamwork, share gear out, share potions, share food, all that kind of thing, so that you can all be ahead of the game and do the best that you can possibly do together. Now, one major thing that a lot of people have kind of brushed over is actually when you own a settlement, in order for the quality of life buffs, which if you haven't seen my video on settlements, it'll be linked on screen now, and that actually tells you about all the different things you can do. And there is something about quality of life buffs where you're gathering, you're crafting, and some of your combat skills can be improved whilst in the region of the settlement you own. And in order to get these buffs activated, you need to have a house in that settlement. Now, this works both ways, so you can do this in any other settlement. So for example, if you buy a house in your own settlement that you get in the first week, and week 2 someone takes that off you, you will still have access to any quality of life buffs that they then enact because you have a property in that settlement area, but obviously you don't have control over it, whereas when it's your own company, they do have control over which quality of life buffs to activate. So that's where the bonus comes in there. But don't be afraid if you do buy a house and somebody else steals that town off you and you fight for it back later, or whatever the case may be, or it's just under allied occupation for a while, you will still get any QoL buffs that they activate. It's just your company doesn't have the power to choose them, whereas when you own the settlement, obviously you can choose whichever ones are going to be the best for your members. Now, one final thing to touch on here is always remember to do your trading, crafting and refining where possible in your own settlement, as the money will go directly back into your company through all the taxes and things like that. It's the same with property taxes, and this is really useful because it means essentially you're not really losing any money. Your governor or your consuls are going to have access to that, but obviously if you need some stuff out, hopefully you're in a cohesive group where they will then help you, in which case you're basically losing no money from doing it, which is a really, really good thing, and can mean that you guys can keep on top of your game for a longer amount of time, particularly with the trading, because the trading is where the big chunk of tax comes out. So if you are on top of it with that, it's really going to help. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and found it useful, something a bit different that I've not seen too many people cover. And as I say there, massive shout out to Shredrix for the video idea. I really liked it. I kind of ran away with the idea of doing that, so that's what I've come up with today. Hopefully you guys have found this video useful and informative. If you have, please do leave a like on the video down below, as it really does help me and the channel out. If you are new to the channel here and you'd like to see more New World content, I am uploading every single day, so I'd love to have you here as part of the channel community. So make sure you do drop a subscribe with the notification bell on down below for that. And if you would like to join the Discord community, we're nearly at 500 members now, which is crazy good. We've got tons of people in chatting all things New World. We'd love to have you over there, so the link for that will be in the description and in the comments below should you like to join that. And if you would like to support me directly here on YouTube by becoming a channel member, the option for that is just underneath on the join button. You can click that and see which options we have available for you. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching. Take care and peace.